Hello everybody, it's time for a fresh new video and this is going to be pretty technical, so probably a pen and a paper in hand would do the trick for you to note down some important points. So let's begin. Today's video we are going to talk about the two important categories of Canada study permit applications. In Canada, we basically work on two important categories, one SDS and the other is non-SDS. As the name suggests, both will have certain contrasts, differences, and today's video we are going to talk about who should apply under SDS or who should not apply under SDS, what kind of documentations are necessary for a non-SDS application, and how can we make both of these applications a success, and what are the pointers that we should keep in mind before you actually take on any of the categories. So beginning with, in simple terms, we are discussing the differences between SDS and non-SDS category. All of my peers in the industry, many students, or a lot of YouTube videos show differences between these two categories. However, we students who are doing their study permit filing on their own do tend to make a lot of mistakes when it comes to uh, study permits. So Canada study visa overall is not a difficult uh, application filing, but since there is no interview in Canada study visa, people do tend to make a lot of mistakes in their filing, which leads to a negative application outcome. So in today's video we will try to make sure that we do not make any kind of mistakes while filing our study permit application, and most importantly, which particular category of Canada study permit application will you be eligible for. So starting first with student direct stream category, which is the SDS category. Not all countries residents are eligible to apply under SDS. So CIC, which is the Canadian Council, or Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada, IRCC, has defined the countries, the residents of which countries are eligible under SDS. And if you can see the description on my video today, you will find a link to the list of those countries. So India is one of those countries which allow you to apply under SDS. SDS has three major things to make sure, three major things to remember when you think about our SDS category. First will be your English proficiency requirement. SDS requires you to obtain an overall of 6 and minimum 6 band in each module of IELTS. That is the first eligibility criteria you need to meet when you're applying under SDS category. The second being your tuition fees. You are required to pay 1 year of complete tuition fees to your institution, get an official fee receipt from your institution, and that receipt will be added to your final file submission. And this is the second eligibility that you need to meet under SDS. The third eligibility is your living expenses. Now, there are some countries where you do not need to submit living expenses to the country while filing your study permit application. However, in Canada, under SDS category, we need to submit a guaranteed investment certificate funds to a Canadian bank, the amount being $10,000. The bank account is going to be opened in your name in Canada, and as you reach Canada, you will be able to access these funds. They will be spread over various months till you are exhausting $10,000. So the third eligibility criteria is that you need to have a guaranteed investment certificate, which is commonly known as GIC, and you put $10,000 in this account and access it when you are in Canada. So this forms the living expenses. Now, the fourth important point or important part of the checklist is your medical examination. You cannot just go and get your medical examination conducted anywhere in your country. You need to look at the website check the Canadian panel physicians, those approved by IRCC, and only those you can only get your medical done from these panel physicians. For SDS category, we require upfront medical examination. It means that before submitting your application to the Canadian High Commission, you need to put your medical receipt into the file. These are the four important points. Now, moving next will be your financial support. SDS category checklist on its own does not require you to submit any financial. And why is that so? Because you already made 1 year of tuition fee payment and you already made your living expenses payment. So the government is aware and the visa officer is aware that you have enough funds to support yourself for the duration of your course. So you do not need to put any income tax returns. You do not need to put any movable or immovable properties. However, if you really want to show your financial capability for the 2 years or 3 years or 1 year of course duration while you are in Canada, you might as well want to put income tax returns of your sponsors, because this will simply show that you have enough funds and you're not going to be a burden to the government of Canada. However, having said that, SDS category has absolutely no fund requirements. Next, let's talk about the SDS checklist. If you have your transcripts, your recent transcripts available, which is like your highest qualification, may it be grade 12 or may it be your graduation or post-graduation, your work experience documents, your CV, if you have it, your statement of purpose, you collect all this, submit it to the college or university, and you are going to get your letter of acceptance. After letter of acceptance, you follow it up with your fee payment, so you get your tuition fee receipt. Next, you follow it up with your GIC payment and you get the GIC certificate. You have given your IELTS exam, so you have your official IELTS scorecard with overall 6 and minimum 6 in each module of IELTS. Then you have your medical upfront examination receipt. You have any other document or certificate that you want to put in your file. You have your statement of purpose or cover letter or letter of intent that you have to prepare before your file submission. Then you prepare your application forms, have your biometric fee and your embassy fee ready, and you're good to go for a SDS category application. So in all, SDS category is not a very exhaustive application process. It's actually pretty simple. You just need to take care of all these documents that I have just told you. And after that, you have to make sure that your documents are in order, placed in order to be easily comprehensible by the visa officer, because Canada does not require you to have any interview. Since it does not require you to have any interview, so your documents are going to speak for your profile. So whether you are a 60% holder or a 90% holder, Canada is not going to ask you for an interview for giving a decision on your application. The visa officer will just have a look at your documents. So overall, if you submit the checklist, documents as per the checklist, we don't see a reason why you will not have a visa result in your favor. So that's about SDS category. And now let's move on to the non-SDS category and what kind of documents do go into non-SDS category and which kind of applications or applicants are actually eligible for the non-SDS category. So let's clearly understand the non-SDS category of visa applications for Canadian study permits or Canadian study visas. First, we will talk about English proficiency test. English proficiency test is not at all a requirement under the non-SDS category. Why? Because the tab of checklist that appears for a non-SDS category does not show any English proficiency upload tab. Having said that, what we need to understand is if we are from a non-English speaking country, which is India, irrespective, even if you've had an ICSE board or a CBSE board, or your medium of instruction has been English through your school and college, and you have always worked and lived in an English speaking environment, still the visa officer is going to identify you as a national of a non-English speaking country, and the visa officer would like to see or have proof of your English comprehension skills. As we know, there is absolutely no interview in Canada for assessing your application. So it's my recommendation that even if you're filing your case under the non-SDS category, you should look at giving at least one English proficiency test. It may be TOEFL or KL or IELTS, PT, any of this, and attach this proof of English proficiency along with your file. Now, I'm going to give you some examples to understand that which category of application would you fall into. So, for example, you have given IELTS and you have overall 6, but minimum of 5.5 or 5 bands in any of your module of IELTS, you are going to fall under the non-SDS category. Another example could be PTE, Pearson Test of English. You've given Pearson Test of English and you have a score of 6 in each, equivalent to 6 in each of PTE modules, you will still fall under the non-SDS category because IELTS is the only accepted English proficiency exam under the SDS category. So this is about the first eligibility criteria for non-SDS, which is your English proficiency examination. So it will be your decision whether to put any English proficiency score in non-SDS application or not, but basis our experience and the number of profiles that we have looked at in the previous years, our recommendation is that you should definitely use a English proficiency proof in your application under non-SDS. Now, the second eligibility is the fee structure or the fee payment. Non-SDS category does not ask you to pay 1 year of tuition fees, unlike the SDS category. SDS category, you have to pay 1 year of tuition fees irrespective of the amount, but in non-SDS category, you may just choose to pay 1 semester of tuition fees and put that official receipt in your application. Talking about the third factor, which is your living expense. In SDS category, we know that we need to do guaranteed investment certificate GIC for before we actually lodge our application in High Commission. But in non-SDS category, GIC is not a mandate. Instead of doing GIC or showing your living expenses in a Canadian bank in Canada, you might want to just show those many funds in your account or your sponsor's account in the form of liquid funds only. As we've understood that in SDS category, the GIC is amounting to 10,000 Canadian dollars. Many a times we ask the students to opt for GIC even in a non-SDS category because they have already arranged for that amount, and also it shows a lot of stability as far as your income is concerned in your home country. So GIC is not a mandate, but if you do it, it's good for you because these are the expenses that you can, this is the amount of money that you can use while you are in Canada. Having said these three things, the fourth point would be your medical. In SDS, we have an upfront medical examination requirement that your medical receipt goes along with your application. However, in non-SDS category, upfront medical examination is not a requirement. Once you've submitted your file, you are going to get an update on your GC key account for submitting your medical examination. It's going to have an IME number. You need to take that letter to your Canadian panel physician and get your medical done. Once your medical is done, your reports will automatically be submitted on your passport and UCI number to the High Commission. However, what we usually recommend to our students is that if you can do medical and upfront medical examination even for a non-SDS application, that is going to speed up the process of the outcome of your application. So in a non-SDS application, you may choose upfront medical examination or a medical examination post your file submission. These are the 4 important points, but the one factor that differentiates SDS and non-SDS category is proof of financials. That is a must necessary requirement under non-SDS category. So in SDS category, you've paid your fees, you've paid your GIC, you don't need to show any financials, you submit your academics, IELTS, SOP, and you're ready to go. But when it comes to non-SDS, we have chosen to say pay only 1 semester of fees and we have no GIC. So how do we fulfill our fund requirement? And hence non-SDS category requires you to show proper proof of funds. Now, what is a strong financial proof of funds? Strong financial proof of funds is that you will be able to pay your fees when you are in Canada, the remaining portion of your fees. You'll be able to pay for your living expenses, your medical expenses. You will be able to cover any sort of incidental expenses that you incur in Canada, and that you are not going to be a burden to the government of Canada. So for Canada, when you talk about non-SDS application, your movable properties, your immovable properties, your liquid funds, your income tax returns of yours, of your sponsors become very, very important. And if you are not able to prove that you have sufficient funds for to cover all your expenses during the duration of your stay in Canada, then you may have a negative outcome on your application. So in a nutshell, non-SDS application is highly, highly dependent on your proof of funds, in addition to what other documents you are putting in your transcripts and your English proficiency scores and so forth. One more point that you need to consider while doing a non-SDS application is your statement of purpose. A statement of purpose defines why you are going to a certain country and how you are going to, fulfill the fund requirement, why you have chosen a certain course, and why that course is extremely relevant to your previous study. If there are any weaknesses in your profile, you can easily cover it in your statement of purpose. So, your statement of purpose is another important factor in deciding an outcome on your application. Again, it also suffices the point that Canada has no interview, so your document, your cover letter, your statement of intent is going to speak for you in front of the visa officer. So, having said all of this, non SDS category is for all people who cannot apply under SDS because they are not legal residents of the country where SDS applications are actually eligible, or because they are not able to meet the IELTS proficiency requirement, or because they do not want to pay 1 year of fees, or they do not want to do their GIC. So, if you do not meet either one of IELTS, GIC, or 1 year tuition fee requirement, you are going to fall under the non-SDS category. So I hope today's video has given you a good gist of what each of these categories are. And if you have any questions, just feel free to email us, to WhatsApp us on the numbers displayed on the screen, and we'll be happy to assist you further on all of this. I wish you good luck for your Canadian student permit application, and happy studying. And again, New Year greetings to all of you. Thank you very much.